Hey there, it's John from Living the Music. Today I'm going to be responding to David Atkinson's not-so-official 2026 vinyl tag. So this is a series of 20 questions or prompts that David has put together for us in the vinyl community or the music lover, music enthusiast community to kind of riff off of, and it's a way to share our collections or some of our collections and share our thoughts on some of the music that we love and maybe a thought or two on music that we don't love so much. So hello, David. I've been a fan of yours for quite some time. I almost always watch your videos. I don't think I've missed many, if any, and I am continually impressed by your incredible knowledge of music and your unending enthusiasm for music and to continue to purchase music. Bless you, my friend, on that score. I'm impressed. I'm right there with you, but I must admit I have a hard time keeping up. So here we go. Jumping in, we'll try to keep this short and sweet. So number one on his list of questions is, or prompts is, show your best vinyl or other format musical purchase of 2025. I would say for me, it's this box set by Genesis of their classic concept album, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway from 1974. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. You got Peter Gabriel. This is the classic Genesis band before they sort of went pop. But, still there's a lot of catchy tunes on here, but this is their prog era. You got Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Phil Collins, Steve Hackett, an incredible group that came together in those early 70s. And this, to me, is their magnum opus. I just love everything about it. And so I was eagerly looking forward to this box set. Now, this was a much delayed set for whatever reason. They kept pushing it back, but I would say it's worth it. It's got a really nice book. It's got a live show. It's got a Blu-ray, with different mixes. So I've been enjoying this quite a bit. All right, number two, share your favorite live musical experience of 2025. For me, it was seeing this group, the Lemon Twigs, here in Woodstock, New York, where I live. These guys, they're from New York themselves, and they came out to a little theater we have down the road called the Bearsville Theater. It holds about 300 people. It's a really cool little place to go see music. I've seen a number of shows there. I wasn't all that familiar with the brothers, their music, their CDs before I went to this show, but I had an inkling of it. I had heard some of their stuff, but I really enjoyed it. I went with my sweetheart, and she got into it too. They're really very melodic. They're kind of like a throwback to the Beach Boys, just very hummable, bright, sunny melodies and lyrics, and being brothers, their chemistry together on stage is fantastic. So we just had an all-around great time seeing them, and I'll definitely be seeing them again. All right, number three, your vinyl collection in 10 years' time. Is it bigger, smaller, or about the same? Explain why. I would say it'll probably be somewhat bigger, although I do go through purges. I get to a point where I'm ready to let go of stuff that I don't listen to all that often. I just, I don't see the reason to keep it around if I'm not really reaching for it. So that will continue to happen from time to time, but I think my new purchases will outstrip what I get rid of. So I'm going to say it'll be somewhat bigger. All right, number four. You move into a new home. You play one record turned up to 11 to announce your arrival. What is it and why? I would say I'm probably going to go with Paul McCartney, Paul and Linda McCartney, to be official. Their album from 71, Ram. This was his second album after the Beatles, and to me, it's an absolute masterpiece. Yeah, he's not trying to be all like topical and meaningful, per se, in his lyrics. A lot of times he's just trying to express an emotion, or he's trying to have fun, or he's just stringing words together that sound good. But he really put a lot of passion into this. It has a fantastic sound to it. He produced it himself, and it certainly sounds great turned up loud. You got all kinds of rock on here, from pretty heavy down to very romantic. And his voice is in absolute top form here throughout. Linda is a nice accompaniment on background vocals, but Paul really, carries the day here in fantastic fashion. So I think my neighbors will hopefully enjoy it. I know I will, and they'll certainly start to know me a little bit because this is one of my favorite albums of all time. All right, moving on. Number 5, show 2 albums, one each from your favorite male and female singers. Why these 2? Well, there's a lot to choose from, of course, but I think right now my current favorite male singer would be Father John Misty. His real name's Josh Tillman, but he goes under the name Father John Misty. He's an American artist. He's got like 6 albums under his belt. A bit of an, he's an indie artist, I suppose you could say, but he does well for himself. This is his all-time best-selling album, and I think his best album in quality. It's called I Love You, Honey Bear. Is his voice, kind of like acrobatic and rivaling, Little Richard, or, who else would be, fantastic just in terms of voice, Paul Rogers or something like that. Maybe not, but I think he's got a very soothing voice, and it goes down very well. And he can go into the falsetto. He can belt it out. To me, he's got quite enough range to carry just about anything. And I feel good when I listen to him. His voice produces usually a very kind of calming, almost blissful feeling when I listen to him. And he has a lot to say too, which doesn't hurt. On the female side, I'm gonna go back in the day. I've never heard a better voice from a woman than Linda Ronstadt. She's my all-time on that score. And what can you say that hasn't been said about Linda? Such power that she was able to deliver in her vocals. She didn't write her music, but the way she interpreted the songs that she chose was very artful in its own way. And again, like with Father John Misty, I just always feel good when I hear her voice. It's just a presence, and a sonic presence that fills me with joy. All right, number 6. We like to have fun here. Show your top 3 soul dance records. Well, David, I'm not much into soul and dance records. So this is a bit of a joke, really, but this is all I am able to show you here, and that is this classic single from Paul and Wings from 1979, Good Night Tonight. And I am proud to say that, if you can read that, it does say disco single on it, so at least I do have one dance record, and nobody can tell me otherwise. All right, moving on. Number 7, a real stinker. Nominate a track you hate from an album you love. Why the hate? Well, this is probably low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to go with good old Revolution 9 from the Beatles' White Album. Can I appreciate this avant-garde soundscape that John primarily put together with a little help from Yoko and George? Yes, and if I'm going to listen to the album in its entirety, I usually can find a way to receive some enjoyment from it. But I have to work at it, and I just don't have much love for it, and I really wish they would have substituted it with some other classic Beatles songs from the era. All right, moving on. What do we got? Number 8. If you had to pick only one album each of the last 6 decades, what would they be? So he's talking about the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, and 2010. He's really putting us to work here to do this. All right, David. So, well, I'll make it easy for myself a little bit. For the 60s, I'm going to go with this, the White Album by the Beatles. I mean, that's my favorite Beatle album. I love the eclecticism of it, except for Revolution 9. To me, every song is great. Yes, some songs are more throwaway in nature, but I still love them for that. And the package as a whole just works very well. Even though people say they were kind of like going in disparate directions as sort of solo artists in a sense, I think they came together on this. They shine individually, but they also come together as a group quite well. I don't think I can top that for myself for the 60s. In the 70s, I'm going to go with my favorite Rush album, 2112. This is the album I got into Rush with. What can you say? It's got that sci-fi concept to it, that message of giving power to the individual as opposed to the state. I love that message. I just love the rock here, man. This is just some heavy shit going on, and great delivery from the trio here. And then side 2 has a handful of tremendous songs too. So I love every song on this album. This is my 70s choice. For the 80s, I'm going to go back to Paul McCartney. He is my favorite artist, by the way. And this album came out in 82. It's called Tug of War. This was his first album after the very unfortunate murder of John Lennon in late 1980. And this was his first album since McCartney 2, which was, kind of like a throwaway, somewhat of a throwaway album in that when he started making it, it was more like just kind of having fun. But this one, he got very serious. He got back together with George Martin. He recruited in, guys like Steve Gadd and Stanley Clarke. He still had Denny Lane working with him. He still had Linda working with him. He brought in Eric Stewart for background vocals. And, of course, he's got Stevie Wonder on here doing a couple tracks. He's got Carl Perkins on a track. The whole thing just works very well. Sure enough, it has Ebony and Ivory, but I don't mind that too much. It's a nice ballad if it is on the sappy side. But this is a great sounding record, one of my favorite Paul albums. All right, for the that was the 80s. For the 90s, I'm going to go with Automatic for the People by REM. I'm not a huge REM fan overall. I've listened to most of their stuff, and I've bought several of their albums over the years, but this is the one that stays with me. I think this is probably consensus pick for a lot of fans on the REM top list, and I see why, because it's a very consistent album from track 1 to the very end. It's all good. Again, great sounding, great melodies, great messages. It's a masterpiece. For the 2000s, I'm going to go with Tori Amos and her album Scarlet's Walk. This is my favorite Tori album, believe it or not. Now, she's more heralded for her first couple of albums, the Under the Pink and God, I'm blanking on Little Earthquakes. The debut was Little Earthquakes, and then Under the Pink, and then Boys for Pele was her third album. Those are considered, I think, her absolute classics. But to me, I love this one. This was her response to the 2001 attacks in the States, and it's a very personal album, very emotional. And I think she just knocked it out of the park. It's just it's a stunning masterpiece. And for the 2010s, I'm going to go with The Monitor by Titus Andronicus. Now, this is an indie, they call themselves folk punk band. This, I suppose, is maybe a little bit obscure, but I think it's fairly famous in indie circles. This is a double album, but every single song is a banger. The main leader of this band is a guy called Patrick Stickles. He's from out here in actually New Jersey area, but he's like maybe an hour away from where I am. But anyway, this is sort of like a quasi-concept album, somewhat about the Civil War, somewhat about growing up in New Jersey and whatever his personal issues are. But he somehow throws it together here and again has created something incredibly special. This is very dynamic, very powerful. This just pumps me up. Every time I put this on, it's just rousing, great rock and roll. All right. Wow, that was a long one. All right, so now, number 9. You get the opportunity to spend a day alone with one artist, walking a mountain trail, the beach, or hanging out in the city. Who would you choose? Who would be that artist? Well, I'm going to go back to Father John Misty, a.k.a. Josh Tillman. I think... I just think he'd be the most interesting guy to hang out with. If you've ever listened to him in interviews, he's a very introspective, quiet guy, but very thoughtful, very reflective. And I just think we would have a lot to talk about in terms of philosophy and history and, the meaning of life. Now, number 10 on David's questions is, what would be your must-ask question? I think I would ask him something pretentious like, what would you say is the essential nature of human being? What's the most essential ingredient, I guess, or the essential quality that defines human being? I'd like to hear what he's had to say about that. I bet he'd have quite a bit to say. I'd love to engage with him on that. All right, so now moving on here to number 11. Show a record that contains a track that always brings a tear to the eye, or are you a heartless bastard? Well, I'm going to go back to this album here by Father John Misty, and this has a song called "Please Don't Die" on it. God, it really touches a chord in me when I hear it. Apparently, it's somewhat his wife saying to him, can you stop like being so reckless with how you treat yourself, and the kind of state you get yourself into, and if you push it so far, I'm going to be the one to have to clean up the mess. And so he's kind of like being with that his wife is saying that to him, and so it's half the song is that, and then the other half is kind of what he's saying back to her, and basically saying, yeah, I'll work on it. But just a beautiful falsetto that he delivers in that song, and just a crushingly aching melody. So that does it to me, definitely. All right, let's see. Show 3 albums from artists you've tried to love, but you're questioning why you bother. Well, this isn't a particularly important album from this guy, but just basically the whole genre of Ringo Starr albums. I'm a huge Beatle fan, as you may have already guessed. I love Paul the best. John is fantastic. George, I love all their stuff. I have a hard time getting into Ringo stuff. It's not that I can't enjoy it altogether, but it takes a little bit of work, and I don't really try very very hard to tell you the truth. It's not as rewarding as I would prefer. Another guy would be Paul Simon. Now I know he's very high quality. Okay, so it's a little bit different from Ringo's material, which can be sketchy in my opinion. But I know Paul Simon's done a lot of great material. It just doesn't land with me, particularly for whatever reason. I mean, like this album, Still Crazy After All These Years, is apparently a classic album. I put it on, and I find it very boring. So I just think a lot of his stuff is like that. He's got a very nice voice, but it's just kind of flat to me. And yeah, his lyrics are cool, but I don't know. It just there's not enough dynamism in the music for me. So yeah, kind of giving up on the Paul Simon love. And then, have you heard of this group, Max Webster? So they're a Canadian, just sort of progressive rock band. They were around the time when Rush was going strong in the 70s, and Rush really liked them. They were big fans of theirs, and so I've felt over the years I should really give them a chance and really try to find a place for them in my listening heart. And it's difficult. The guy's voice is just an acquired taste, and I haven't acquired it yet. I may still keep trying with these guys because they produce some interesting music, but like I said, it hasn't landed yet. They're certainly not Rush. And wow, what about that album cover? All right. Okay, let's see. Show an album from an artist whose character disappoints you, or can you separate the artist from the art? Well, I'll show this album by Ryan Adams. I suppose his personal issues are well known at this point. I don't even remember all the details. It's something about underage women, and I don't even want to go into it. But he some online thing. I don't know. He wasn't good to some women, from what I understand. But also I remember seeing, even before all that went down, I saw him on some kind of special that was it was on YouTube. I don't know if it was broadcast, but yeah, I think it was broadcast on TV, but it's on YouTube also, where he was on a show with Janice Ian and Neil Finn. It was kind of like a songwriters get together, and they were supposed to play their songs, and then they would play some songs together. And he was a real dick on that show. He really got under Neil's skin, and Neil had to sort of tell him off a little bit by the end of the show. So that already told me he's probably got some inner demons going on. But can I separate the art from the artist? Yeah, for the most part I can. I love this album. I love the material he did with this backup band, the Cardinals. He did 3, 4, 5 albums, something like that, with I guess it was a little bit of a changing lineup, but still, the type of music he was doing with them really hit my sweet spot. Kind of like Americana, I suppose. But anyway, very good stuff. I still enjoy listening to Ryan, even if he has his personal issues, and I hope he's apologized, and I hope he's learned whatever lesson he needed to learn. All right, let's see. If you number 14, if you had to sell all your vinyl along with your record player, show the one album you would hold on to as a keepsake. I'm going to say this debut by the band Montrose. That's right. So I grew up in the Bay Area, and these were my guys. You got Ronnie Montrose here. You got Sammy Hagar over there. The other two guys are great too, but these two in particular are my sort of boyhood heroes growing up. And they just killed it on this album. It's an all-time classic hard rock American album, and yeah, I don't think I can do without it. So that's coming with me. Okay. Number 15. Discuss your VC highlight of 2025. If that's a video, link to it. But it could be a meetup or some event. Well, I'm hoping Rick Beato is considered, in the vinyl community. Anyway, he's one of the guys I like to watch on YouTube, and he did this incredible interview this year in 2025 with David Gilmour at his studio in England, and they talked for like an hour and 50 minutes. Very informative about, writing and performing and gear and just getting into the whole musical world of David Gilmour. And I just found that very captivating. I loved it. So that'd be the one I'd highlight. All right. Getting close to the end here. Number 16. Name your favorite musical biopic, if you have one. I'm going to go with The Doors. Do you remember that one? When was that? 96, something like that. With Val Kilmer in the lead role. He just, brought a lot of energy and charisma, which you would have to do to play Jim Morrison. It was an Oliver Stone movie, so it's kind of trippy and it's sort of, all over the place. But I dug it, and I got a lot out of it. I did feel like I got to know the sort of mind of Jim Morrison a little bit, and get a sense of why he left us so early at 27 years old. All right, number 17. Give 3 reasons why jazz matters. Well, David, you must be talking about the Queen album Jazz, right? Because the genre of jazz doesn't fit into my collection. I'm sorry to say. Not a big fan. I just I don't have an ear for jazz whatsoever. I can sort of tolerate it if some of my rock artists veer into jazz territory a little bit, but they better come back pretty quick because I'm not staying with it too long. So yeah, but the Jazz album by Queen, fantastic, great stuff. Fat Bottom Girls and all the rest. So yeah, highly recommend this baby. All right, what else? 18. You are an innocent man on death row. They give you one last musical request. What do you ask for? Well, I've thought about this. I think I'm going to go. This is the album, the compilation they put together for the Beatles called Hey Jude. So this is just my way of saying I would ask them to play the song Hey Jude. I just think it's such a wonderful sentiment by Paul, and the other guys really got into it. That long coda at the end is really a celebration of life. And I think I hopefully, having listened to that one last time, could give up the ghost, so to speak, and move on into the great realm beyond and be happy. All right. Number 19. Sell your favorite artist to a new listener. Show one essential album and explain why they should make time for it. So here I'll talk about Todd Rundgren. Now, he goes back to the late 60s. He's been around forever in that sense. He's been very prolific on his own with his band Utopia in the 70s and part of the 80s. But, he's always out there playing live. I mean, he's Mr. Music. Now, this is an album of his from the 2000s called Liars. I think it was 2000s. And might be late 90s. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. Sorry about not remembering the year. But this is a one-man band. He has several of those, but this is one that he kind of put together using his computer, keyboards, etc. And it's really a fantastic album. It's all about different lies we tell ourselves and tell each other. And so it's very thoughtful, philosophical, as he often is. And of course, that's Todd in his goofy best with the album cover there. But the thing about Todd beyond this album is he's always willing to try new things. He's always willing to push the boundaries of what he's comfortable with, and I really appreciate that. And he's also one of my favorite singers and favorite songwriters of all time. So yeah, I think you should give him a shot if you never have. I think you'll be impressed. All right, number 20, and finally, you're arranging a VC meetup in 2026. Excluding those you've already met, invite 3 people you'd most like to meet. Well, this is not kissing up David, but I will say you would be one of my 3. David Atkinson, I find you to be on the humble side. I think you're like an ordinary guy, but also very thoughtful, willing to listen. So I appreciate that. Then on the other side of the coin, in a sense, I would also choose Andy Edwards. Now, he is this very big personality. I'm not sure how well he would listen, but he would be great to listen to for me, and I'm a good listener, so I love listening to other people riff, and he would be a lot of fun to hang out with. And then finally, there's this guy, Pete Pardo, who I know he lives in the Hudson Valley where I am, but I don't know, probably 45 minutes away from where I am, but I've never met him. And he has this channel called Sea of Tranquility that's ostensibly about prog rock, but he talks about all kinds of rock that he enjoys, and believe it or not, he loves jazz too, but I just don't watch those videos. But anyway, he's again another really I think humble guy, nice guy. I think he would also be a good listener, and we'd have a lot in common in our musical taste. So there you go. That's my answer to that question, and that completes my entry into David's whatever this is, contest or just a celebration of music that we're doing together. So thanks for putting this together, David. It's been fun, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and anyone else who does, thanks for watching and listening. I hope to see you check out my channel, Living the Music, and everybody have a fantastic 2026 and happy listening. Take care.